Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is our second lecture, which is about the components, aims and uses of epidemiology. Aims of epidemiology. According to the International Epidemiological Association, IEA, epidemiology has three main aims. Number one, to describe the distribution and the size of disease problems in human population. Number two, to identify etiological factors in the pathogenesis. Of disease. Number three, to provide the data essential to the planning, implementation and evaluation of services for the prevention, control and treatment of disease, and to the setting up of priorities among these services. The ultimate aim of epidemiology is to lead to an effective action to eliminate or reduce the health problems or its consequences and to prevent its occurrence in future. In brief, epidemiology is said to be concerned with all health and illness in population groups and with the factors including health services that affect them. The aims of epidemiology include knowledge and distribution of disease in order to educate causal mechanism, explain local disease occurrence, describe the natural history of disease, and provide guidance in the administration of health services. There are human characteristics that are concerned with the epidemiologist. Biological characteristics such as biochemical level of blood, including antibodies, enzymes, cellular of the blood, and measurement of the physiological functions of different organ system of the body. Number two, demographic characteristics such as age, sex, race and ethnic group. Third, social and socio-economic characteristics such as status, education, occupation and habitats. Fourth, personal living habits such as tobacco use, diet and exercise. Factors other than personal characteristics fulfill in epidemiology for administration purpose for the study of the etiology of diseases of an illness and its time or secularity. The interaction between person, place and time are also important in the studying the cause of diseases. This is the use of epidemiology. Number one, to study the effect of diseases state in a population over a time and predict future health needs. Here, epidemiologists study the history of the health of the population and the rise and fall of diseases and changes in their character and predict the future health needs. Number two, to diagnose the health of community. The epidemiologists study the conditions of people to measure the distributions and dimensions of illness in terms of incidence, prevalence, disability and mortality, to set health problems in perspective and to define their relative importance, to identify groups' needs, special attention. New methods of monitoring must be constantly sought. In short, it helps in diagnosing the health status of the community. Third, use are to evaluate the health services. Epidemiologists study the working of health services with the view to their improvement of evaluating the healthcare services in the community. Operational research shows how community expectation can result in the actual provision of service, the success with which the services achieve their stated goals, and the effect on community health have to be appraised in relation to resources. Action research can lead to future plans for better services, for example, planning, efficient research including drug trials and new methods of treatment. Fourth, to treatment to estimate the individual risk from group experiences. The work of an ophthalmologist is to estimate the risk of disease, accident and deficit and chances of avoiding them. So it studies the effect of disease states in populations over a period of time and predicts the future health needs and provides the base for preventive measures and their evaluation, and also helps in logical planning of facilities for healthcare. Fifth, to identify the syndrome. The ophthalmologist helps to identify syndromes by describing the distribution and association of clinical phenomena in the population, or helps in evolving and describing the natural history of disease. Sixth, to complete the clinical picture of chronic diseases and describe their natural history. It provides complete clinical picture of diseases so the preventions can be accomplished before disease becomes irreversible. Seventh, to search for causes of health and diseases. This can be done by comparing experience of groups that are clearly defined by their composition, inheritance, experience, behavior and environment. So, ophthalmology helps in understanding the causation of disease and disability and providing data which help to explain the etiology of disease and local disease patterns, which in turn helps to test the hypothesis clinically or experimentally. The uses of ophthalmology encompasses two main components. Number one, the systematic collection of health data, including the utilization of data collected for other purpose. A. Identifying of health problems and assessment of priorities in allocation of resources, including surveillance. B. Detection of new problems or changes in frequency of existing problems. C. Identification of risk factors enabling efficient distributions of resources assigned to a particular problem. D. Evaluation of effectiveness of control programs. E. Formulation of hypotheses regarding the reasons for non-random disease distributions. Simply, disease etiology. And the second main components of uses of ophthalmology, this too, the search for cause of ill health. A. Identification of all alterable causes. B. Identification of susceptible groups for special surveillance. C. Identification of disease entities. D. Identification of early manifestation of diseases or disease syndromes. These are the components we have already discussed: the systematic collection of health data and search for causes of ill health. This is the advantages of ophthalmology. Ophthalmology brings community health a dynamic and existing perspective. The process of ophthalmology adds methods of hypothesizing, new problem-solving technique in the process for practice in the community. Ophthalmology formulates new relationships and new association between the public health and the community. In today, challenging and provocative times of ophthalmology assist to meet changing community needs. Methods by use of methods and tools that are held in common with all members of the multidisciplinary team. This common language improve interprofessional communication and trust. All the same time, the unique attributes as a profession can be maintained and displayed within the framework of ophthalmological methods and theory. The advantages which is used in the ophthalmology are: number one, ophthalmology provides a framework. Ophthalmology provides a framework within which basic science and behavioral science can be used for community health. Number two, application for ophthalmological methods used to describe community needs and services evaluation. Through this application of ophthalmological methods to describe community needs and evaluate the health population. Third, public health principles of family as the unit of society. Prevention and control of disease and health promotions are activated and quantified through ophthalmological approach. Fourth, ophthalmology provides interdisciplinary language to promote trust and communication. To promote interprofessional communication and trust. Fifth, ophthalmological perspective provides a method of extending the relationship of family problems to community welfare. The ophthalmological Sixth, model of ophthalmology promote understanding relationship between agents and environment that expose susceptible population at risk of implement to deaths. Seventh, ophthalmology provide time-honored method of quantifying outcomes, lack of compliance and activities of daily living to promote and improve the quality of healthcare in the community. Further, the study of the distributions of disease and health-related problems is not adequate. The fundamental aims of ophthalmology is to search for factors which influence and determine the observed distributors. Illness in individuals are often determined by a selective operation of one or more factors. Further, our environment, our blind destructions of it is so complex that limiting our investigation to individuals' illnesses may contribute very little to our effort to solve community health problems. The ophthalmologist must examine a number of cases of similar diseases or health-related problems as they occur throughout population and subsequently assist in identifying the operational factors in affected groups of the population. Thus, the discovery of factors causing or contributing to the occurrence of a particular disease or health problems is the most important concern of ophthalmology. The satisfaction of scientific curiosity will lead to a more complete understanding of occurrence of ill health, and increased understanding of the ophthalmological approach in turn will enable the providers of health services to plan, implement and assess effective measures of health promotion and the prevention and control of diseases and disabilities. The use of ophthalmology helps the community health in many ways because ophthalmologist deals in various settings. Ophthalmology helps community to identify and investigate the problems, formulate alternative actions and implements the prevention and control of problems, and also helps to evaluate the effectiveness of actions, early diagnosis and treatment, notification of certain specific diseases to the health authority, tracing the contact, keep them under surveillance, identify resources, of injection and educating the people in genes. Hence, the knowledge of ophthalmology is essential for any ophthalmologist is the fruitful practice. These are the determinants of illness behavior. Number 1, visibility and recognizability of illness symptoms. Number 2, to the extent to which the person perceives the symptoms as serious the person's estimate of the present and future risk. Number 3, the person information, knowledge and cultural assumptions and understanding related to perceived symptoms. Number 4, the extent to which symptoms disrupt family, work or social activities. 5, the frequency of the appearance of the symptoms and their persistence. 6, the extent to which others exposed to the persons tolerate the symptoms. 7, the extent to which basic needs are denied because of illness. 8, the extent to which the person gives other possible interpretation to other symptoms. 9th, the extent to which the person gives other possible interpretation to other symptoms. 10th, the availability and physical proximity of treatment resources and the psychological and monetary cost of taking actions, including cost in time and efforts, as well as cost as stigma, social distance and feeling of humiliation. This is the epidemiological trait. Natural history of the disease is the process by which disease occurs and progress in humans involving the interaction of 3 different kinds of factors. The causative, its agent, a susceptible is the host, and the environment. Without an intervention, every disease will follow a natural course of event. These agents, host and environmental factors form epidemiological trait. Any particular disease of health problems is the result of an interaction between a number of specific or associative risks which can be classified as agent, host and environmental factors. Epidemiological principles are based on the interaction of the host, the causative agent and the environment. The interaction can be the best understood by visualizing the concept or positive health and disease. Positive health is the absence of disease and result from the supremacy of the host over the causative and associative factors. This is possible when the host becomes stronger, or the agent is removed, or the environment becomes unfavorable to this agent. Disease or disorders, on the other hand, occurs when the agent is more powerful than the host becomes weaker, or the environmental becomes favorable for the growth, multiplication and survival of the agent. Graphically, the trait may be represented the 2 seeds, agent and host. Three factors of diseases result from interaction of these 3 factors: agent, host and environment. Agent. An agent is a factor whose presence or absence causes a disease. It is a specific factor without which a disease cannot occur. a disease agent may be defined as a substance, living or non-living, or a force, tangible or non-tangible, the excessive presence or relative lack of which is the immediate cause of particular disease. The disease agents are classified. Physical agent, it includes various mechanical forces or frictions that may produce injury, as well as atmospheric abnormalities such as extremes of heat, cold, humidity, pressure, radiation, electricity, and sounds, etc. Biological agents includes all living organisms such as bacteria, viruses, rickettsia, protozoa, fungi, helminthes. Chemical agents. There are two types of chemical agents, endogenous and exogenous. Endogenous, some of the chemicals may be produced in the body as a result of drainage function. For example, urea, serum, berberine, ketones, uric acid, calcium carbonate. While exogenous, agents arising outside of human host, allergens, metals, fumes, gases, insecticides. These may be acquired by inhalation, ingestion, or inoculation. We have fourth, genetic. Genetic agents transmitted from parent to child through the genes. We have another agent. This is the mechanical agents, chronic functions and other mechanical forces resulting in injuries, trauma, fractures, sprains, dislocation, and even death. We have another agent is the nutritional or nutrient agent. Nutrient agent includes specific basic dietary components that we need to survive, such as protein, fats, carbohydrates, vitamins, minerals, and water. The excessive or deficient intake of nutrient leads to malnutrition, etc., which in turn leads to susceptibility to any disease. Here, agent is referred to as the seed of the disease. And seventh agent, we have absence of insufficiency of excess of factors. It includes chemical hormones, for example, insulin, gastrogen. Number 2, nutrients. Number 3, lack of structure, for example, congenital defect of the herd. 4th, chromosomes, for example, monogloism, mental retardation, and 5th, immunoglobulin, for example, egg mama globulin. This is the agent characteristics, while the host characteristics are: host refers to human or animals that come in contact with the agent. Since agent has been considered as the seed of disease, the human host is referred to as the soil. Host factors influence the interaction with the agent and the environment, like age. Certain diseases are more frequent in certain age group than others. For example, number 1, childhood measles, whooping cough. B, advanced age, diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular. C, old age, arthritis. Sex. 2. Sex, it is a fact that a certain anatomical and hormonal differences between two sexes. According, there are differences between male and female for occurrence of disease. For example, disorders associated with pregnancy in females, prostatic hypertrophy in males. Race. Some races also suffers from particular diseases. like Negroes, sickle cell, anemia. Genetic profile. Genetic factors. Certain diseases are determined by genetic factors like behavioral disorders and disorders of blood run in the family due to chromosomal factors. Habits. Living habits are lifestyle such as dietary pattern, use of tobacco, alcohol, narcotics, drugs are the factors with an influence on susceptibility of disease. For example, malnutrition, cancer, drug dependencies, sexual excesses. Nutrition. The effects of poor nutrition leads to susceptibility to various infections. Immune status. Immune status. The reaction of human host to infection depends upon his previous immunological experiences. For example, infection, immunization. Those who acquired or natural immunity will not easily be susceptible to disease. Custom. Certain traditional systems like superstitions lead to disease. For example, fixed belief in goddess of disease in Hindu society makes people not to believe an immunization which leads to childhood diseases. Certain habits also followed according to their customs and lifestyles as explained. Human mobility. Frequent changes in places may cause disease. Persons are transferred 1,000 miles in a few hours and introduce infections, for example, malaria, cholera, AIDS, syphilis, COVID-19. Social status. Social status. Studies have shown certain diseases occurring according to social class. For example, low social classes are susceptible to reproductive health diseases, bronchitis, TB. Usually upper classes have lower mortality and morbidity than lower class. Economic class. Person's occupation itself may be that cause of certain occupational hazards and infections. For example, pneumonitis, accidents, brucella, dermatitis, psychosomatic illness, and unemployment also leads to disease. Educational status. Educational status. Disease can be easily controlled and managed in the educated class, whereas it will be difficult in the case of uneducated class. Environmental characteristics. The environmental characteristics refer to the aggregate of all external conditions and influence affecting the life and development of an organism, human behavior and society. The environment may be the external conditions that may enhance or inhibit the interaction between host and agent. The environment includes those externals to the host and agent, but they may influence interactions between them. When there is a change in any of one of them, these components, the balance or equilibrium is disrupted, and the possibility of disease occurrence is increased or decreased. Physical environment. Physical environment, it includes non-living things and physical factors such as water, air, soil, heat, light, radiation, noise, housing, climate, geography, etc. Alteration or change in these environments due to various causes leads to water pollution, air pollution, soil pollution, noise pollution, which in turn may cause diseases. For example, heavy flooding in the village or a town can increase the likelihood that the area water supply will be contaminated with the waste products. This increases the possibility in the residents of that area infected by diseases causing organism. Biological environment. Biological environment, it includes all living things created in the world. Man lives around the living things, which include bacteria, viruses, and other various microorganisms which may cause diseases and maladjustment in the ecological system, leading to causative factors of diseases. Social environment. Social environment, man has to live in society and should follow the accepted patterns of particular society, such as cultural values, customs, habits, beliefs, attitudes, morals, religion, and other psychosocial factors. Any alteration in these factors may lead to conflicts and tensions which may cause behavioral disorders. The habits like smoking, alcohol, drug dependencies are well known that they are causes of diseases. Economic environment. Man and economic position may at times be the factor of disease. For example, poverty leads to the malnutrition. Psychological stress may the cause of various diseases. Thus, the position of diseases has been particularly useful in efforts to control infectious diseases, development of vaccines that increase the immunity of the host, and improvement of sanitation and disposal of wastes help to control or prevent the transmission of several infectious diseases. Epidemiological studies of other kinds of diseases such as mental illness, cardiac diseases, and cancer does not reveal specific cause. Therefore, it is better to have an approach of multiple causation of disease. Level of prevention. Primary prevention. Levels of prevention. The natural history of disease provides the basis of community health interventions. A disease evolves over time and pathological changes become less reversible as the disease process continues. The ultimate aim of intervention program is to halve or reverse the process of pathological changes as early as possible, thereby preventing further damage. A 3-level model for intervention based on stages of diseases has been developed by the level. Number 1 is the primary level, number 2 is the secondary level, and the third one is the tertiary level. We will discuss first the primary level of prevention. Primary prevention is true prevention. It precedes disease or dysfunction and is applied to patient considered physically and emotionally healthy. It is aimed that intervention before pathological changes have begun during the stage of susceptibility. Activities are directed at decreasing the probability of specific illness or dysfunction. The primary preventive efforts include both general health promotion and specific protection. General health promotion includes all activities that improve the environment and favor healthy living. Health education aimed at educating the public about the good nutrition, the need for rest and recreation, hygiene, etc. The health promotion activities are: number 1, health education; number 2, good standards of nutrition adjusted to development stages of life; third, attention to personality development; fourth, provisions of adequate housing and recreation and agreeable working condition; fifth, marriage and sex education; sixth, genetic screening; seventh, periodic selective examination. Specific protection refer to measures aimed at protecting individuals against specific agents, for example, immunization against poliomyelitis or sewage treatment or pasteurization of milk or chlorination of water. The activities of specific protection will include: number 1, use of specific immunization, for example, vaccination; number 2, attention to personal hygiene for self-care; third, use of environmental sanitation, for example, chlorination of well and pond, tank; fourth, protection from accidents, for example, wearing helmets; fifth, use of specific nutrients; sixth, protection from carcinogens; and seventh, avoidance of allergens. We have second level or secondary level prevention, and secondary prevention focuses on the individuals who are experiencing health problems or illness and who are at risk for developing complications or worsening conditions. Its efforts seek to detect disease early and treat it promptly. The goal is to cure disease at its earliest stage or when cure is impossible to solve its progression as well as prevent complication and limit disability. And it includes early diagnosis and prompt. Number 1, case finding measures, individuals and masses. Number 2, screening surveys. 3, selective examination. 4th, cure and prevention of disease process to prevent spread of communicable diseases, prevent complications and shortens the period of disability. And second, we have disability limitation. Number 1, adequate treatment to arrest disease process and prevent complication. Number 2, provision of facilities to limit disability and prevent health or prevent death. Third, we have tertiary level of prevention, and it is totally regarding a rehabilitation. Tertiary prevention occurs when a deficit or a disability is permanent. It includes limitation of disability for persons in the early stages of illness and rehabilitation. For those persons who have already experienced residual damage, tertiary prevention activities focus on the middle of late phases of clinical disease when reversible pathological damage produces disability. For example, stroke exercises. For this, restoration and rehabilitation activities are included. Number 1, provision of hospitals and community facilities for retaining and education to maximize use of remaining capacities. Number 2, education of the public and industries to use rehabilitative persons to the to the fullest possible extent. Third, selective placement. Fourth, work, therapy and hospitals. And fifth, we have use of shelter colony. In tertiary prevention, mainly the activities are directed at rehabilitation rather than diagnosis and treatment. Care at this level aims to help the patient to achieve as high as level of functioning as possible despite the limitation caused by illness or impaired functions. Epidemics occur when host agent and environmental factors are not in balance due to new agent, due to change in existing agent, due to change in number of susceptible in the population, due to environmental changes that affect transmission of the agent, of the growth of the agent. Epidemiological approach. The epidemiological approach to problems of health and disease is based on 2 major functions. Number 1, asking questions. Number 2, making comparison. A. Asking question. Epidemiology has been defined as means of learning or asking questions and getting answers that lead to further questions related to health events. That is, A. What is the event? It means that what is the problem. B. What is its magnitude? Magnitude means its frequency. C. Where did it happen? Happen mean place. Who are affected? When did it happen? It's a time. And who are affected? This is the person. And why did it happen? It's the reason. Related to health action. A. What can be done to reduce this problem and its consequences? B. How can it be prevented in the future? C. What action should be taken by the community, by the health services, by other sectors, where and for whom these activities be carried out? D. What resources are required? How are the activities to be organized? E. What difficulties may arise and how might they be overcome? Answer to the above questions may provide clues to disease etiology and help the epidemiologist to guide planning and evaluation. B. We have making comparison. The basic approach in epidemiology is to make comparison and draw inference. This may be comparison of 2 or more groups, one group having the disease and other having or exposed to the risk factor, and the other group not having the disease or not exposed to the risk factor, or comparison between individuals. By making comparisons, the ophthalmologist tries to find out the crucial differences in the host and environmental factors between those affected and non-affected patient. Thank you so much.